Algeria is quietly building one of the most powerful air forces in Africa and the Arab world, and almost nobody outside military circles is paying attention. New footage now confirms Algeria received Russia's Su-34M strike fighters for the first time. That matters enormously because the Su-34 is not a normal fighter jet. It is a long-range strike aircraft designed for deep attacks, maritime warfare, and high-intensity combat. At the same time, Algeria already received Russian Su-35 fighters and even Su-57 stealth jets. That means Algeria is becoming the first African country operating a fifth-generation stealth fighter fleet. This is not routine modernization. It reflects a much bigger geopolitical shift happening across North Africa. Algeria increasingly sees itself surrounded by instability, NATO pressure, and growing regional competition. Since the collapse of Libya in 2011, Algerian military planners concluded one thing very clearly. No country will guarantee Algeria's security except Algeria itself. So the country is rapidly building deterrence power, long-range aircraft, advanced air defenses, stealth fighters, precision strike capabilities. And this buildup is happening at a moment when North Africa grows more strategically important globally. Europe wants energy security, Russia wants influence, China wants economic access, NATO wants Mediterranean dominance. And Algeria sits directly in the middle of all those interests. To understand why Algeria is buying these aircraft so aggressively, you need to understand the country's strategic mindset. Algeria has long maintained one of Africa's strongest militaries. Unlike many Arab states aligned closely with the West, Algeria traditionally pursued independent foreign policy. That independence deepened after NATO's intervention in Libya in 2011. From Algeria's perspective, the fall of Libya created chaos directly on its borders. Weapons trafficking expanded. Militant groups spread across the Sahel region. Regional instability intensified dramatically. At the same time, Algeria watched Western military operations carefully. NATO demonstrated how air power alone could destroy regional governments quickly. Algerian planners concluded their existing military structure needed major upgrades to prevent similar pressure against Algeria itself. That triggered accelerated modernization. Russia became Algeria's main defense partner, because much of the Algerian military already used Soviet and Russian systems. This made upgrades easier and cheaper operationally. Now Algeria operates advanced Russian fighters, submarines, air defenses, and missile systems simultaneously. And that transformation accelerated sharply over the last few years. The first reason Algeria's new Su-34M fighters matter is range. The Su-34 is essentially a heavily modified strike version of the Su-27 fighter family, but it is far larger and carries much more fuel and weaponry. Its combat endurance resembles some strategic bombers more than traditional fighters. That changes Algeria's military reach dramatically. The Algerian Air Force can now conduct long-range strike operations across North Africa and deep into the Mediterranean without depending heavily on refueling. This matters strategically. Algeria faces one of the world's largest territorial areas. It must monitor vast desert regions, long coastlines, and unstable southern borders simultaneously. The Su-34 fits that mission perfectly. The aircraft also carries heavy missile and bomb loads. It can attack naval targets, infrastructure, radar systems, and air defenses at long distances. And recently, Russia upgraded the aircraft further with advanced reconnaissance pods. That means the Su-34 can gather battlefield intelligence, while remaining fully armed for strike missions. It becomes both a surveillance platform and attack aircraft simultaneously. This significantly improves Algeria's operational flexibility, but range alone does not explain Algeria's military transformation. The second major issue is deterrence. Algeria increasingly believes regional threats are growing. Relations with Morocco remain tense, especially over Western Sahara disputes. The Sahel region continues facing insurgencies and instability. NATO military activity in the Mediterranean also worries Algerian planners deeply. Then came large Western military exercises in North Africa. Some drills reportedly simulated operations against adversaries resembling Algeria geographically and militarily. That reinforced fears inside Algerian defense circles that outside powers increasingly view North Africa strategically again. So Algeria responded with modernization at scale. The country already fields advanced Russian S-400 air defense systems. Now it adds Su-34 strike aircraft, Su-35 air superiority fighters, and Su-57 stealth jets. This creates layered deterrence. The S-400 threatens hostile aircraft. The Su-35 controls airspace. The Su-34 conducts long-range strikes. And the Su-57 provides stealth penetration capabilities. Very few African or Arab militaries possess this level of integration. Algeria wants potential adversaries to calculate that any confrontation would become extremely costly immediately. This is classic deterrence strategy, not preparing necessarily for war itself, preparing to make war look too dangerous to attempt. But the third reason this matters may be the most important globally. Russia and China still maintain influence in regions the West assumed were drifting away permanently. Western analysts often focus heavily on Europe, Ukraine, or the Indo-Pacific. But Moscow continues expanding defense partnerships across Africa and the Middle East quietly. Algeria remains one of Russia's most important defense clients globally. Even after years of sanctions and battlefield losses in Ukraine, Russia still exports advanced military systems successfully. That matters politically, because arms sales create long-term strategic relationships. Pilots train together, maintenance systems integrate, military doctrines align. Intelligence cooperation often expands too, and Algeria may not stop with Russian equipment alone. Reports increasingly suggest interest in China's J-35 stealth fighter eventually. If that happens, Algeria could become one of the few countries operating advanced Russian and Chinese stealth platforms simultaneously. That would represent a major geopolitical shift in North Africa, especially because Algeria remains one of the last major Arab states outside direct Western alignment structures. The implications are enormous. First, North Africa's military balance is changing rapidly. Algeria now fields capabilities once limited mostly to major global powers. Second, Mediterranean security calculations become more complicated. Long-range Algerian strike aircraft increase pressure on NATO planners monitoring southern Europe and maritime routes. Third, Africa is becoming a more competitive defense market globally. Russia, China, Turkey, Europe, and the United States all increasingly compete for military influence across the continent. And finally, Algeria's buildup reflects a broader global trend. Middle powers no longer trust the international system fully. Countries increasingly invest heavily in independent military deterrence because they fear global instability growing. Ukraine reinforced this lesson worldwide. So did Libya. So did Syria. Governments increasingly believe survival depends on self-reliance, and Algeria appears determined to ensure nobody can pressure it easily again. Algeria's new Su-34 fighters are not just aircraft purchases. They are symbols of a country preparing for a far more dangerous geopolitical era, a world where military power once again shapes national survival directly.